It's time for the Buddy Martin Show and podcast on a Daniel L. Hightower Wednesday.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
What if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the Buddy Martin Show on Daniel L. Hightower Wednesday. Coming up in just a moment, Edgar Thompson will join us, but we've got a little interview with Terry Bradshaw. You're going to enjoy this. We got it in two parts. We'll tell you about it in a moment. And first, the news. Colorado has a new head football coach, and he is from the University of Georgia. Mel Tucker announced as the Buffalo's next head coach. And now Kirby Smart has to have a taste of his own medicine. He left Alabama and Nick Saban as defensive coordinator to become a head coach. And now Mel Tucker, who was his defensive assistant and defensive coordinator at Georgia, is going to leave for another school. That's what happens. What goes around comes around. Terry Bradshaw today. We spent a long time talking about a variety of topics. And I thought what he said about George H.W. Bush was very, very poignant. And we had a discussion about a particular favorite saying of his, which I enjoyed, and I think you will too. We're going to do this in two parts. First, we're going to hear from Terry, and then we're going to pick it up later on after Edgar Thompson and play the rest of it and extend the interview with Terry on all subjects. Not much NFL, I must tell you. It's about life and other things. So that's coming up in just a moment on a Daniel L. Hightower Wednesday. Let's go ahead right now and roll in our first part of the Terry Bradshaw interview and let you hear a little sample of that. We'll take a break and we'll come back and get Edgar Thompson of the Sentinel online.
Job-related accidents create incredible stress on your finances, your relationships, and most importantly, your sense of well-being. When the adjuster is not approving benefits you're entitled to by law, you need Dan Hightower to help you understand all of your legal options. Daniel L. Hightower has been fighting for accident victim justice in Ocala and statewide since 1976. Call Daniel L. Hightower today to better understand all your legal options. 352-629-7777.
Daniel L. Hightower, lawyer fighting for accident victim justice since 1976. And now, Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah, buddy, I love my job, so don't, I'm fine. I mean, I'm a pretty blessed guy. I
yes, you are.
get to do what I love to do. And I have no desires to slow down.
Yeah.
Having hit 70, you start thinking,
Ooh.
okay, they'll probably start, start making plans for me to leave, but I'll know when. I'll know when they're doing that.
Not going to do it. Yeah. Hey, speaking of not going to do it, did you know George Bush, H.W.? Did you know him? Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Did you watch any?
Matter of fact, I've got it on right now. The funeral thing. He was I was with him 2 or 3 times, and just a great guy.
Yeah.
Golly, genuine, and everything people are saying about him. Normally, when a person dies, people always say wonderful things, and it's only appropriate that you do. Nobody says, "Well, the guy was a jerk."
Yeah.
Sorry, he's dead. But this was he really was a great guy, and he's exactly like everybody said. He was genuine. He was super polite. He respected everybody that came up. He looked down on no one. He gave everybody the time of day. He made you feel as though you were just as special as, more special than he. He didn't look at himself like that, and he was so approachable, I think's the word, that you just walked away like, man, what a nice guy. He just like one of us. And I think what happens to so many people in all phases of life, primarily entertainment and sporting world, these people become so famous and are wealthy that they all of a sudden there's a feeling of superiority that comes with that, and that's totally that's a huge mistake on their part. We do allow certain people in those two categories to do and say things and get away with things because of what they can do and who they are. And George W. Bush, H.W., was not one of those. President 41 was not one of those people. He never thought of himself any more than you thought of yourself. He just a super, super nice person.
Yeah, Dan Jenkins was a friend of his, and I was in a U.S. Open tent one Sunday, and he called up to comment to Dan on golf and invited him to come play, which he did all. And I didn't obviously never chance to meet him, but I've met two or three people who said the same thing you did about him being so real. The one thing I want to ask you, what's the one thing that, excuse me, the one thing that got me was about his resume and his tenure, aside from the politics of it, was the fact that they told him when the Berlin Wall came down, said, you should go to Berlin. And he said, no, I'm not going to Berlin. I said, no, you should go. You'll bring this Cold War down. And the wall came down, and he said, what am I going to say? I don't think I can say, I'm going to sit there and gloat about it, No way. Right. And he didn't go to Berlin. And he was not a guy who did that kind of thing. This shows you about his humility and his, and the kind of guy, I didn't know him, but you verify all that we've heard by saying what a terrific guy and a patriot he was.
Well, then he makes it about him. See, that's the thing about President 41. It's not about him. He doesn't want it about him. Yeah, the Berlin Wall, for sure. I've been there. I've stood right there on that line.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, and if he goes there, then it's drawing attention to him, and it's drawing it away from the Cold War. So I totally understand what he's saying. Yeah. His accomplishments speak for themselves. He does not need a reminder of the great things that he did. He does not need a reminder. Also, those that of some of his failures or some of the things that America disagreed with him a lot on. Yeah. He's very much aware of those things, and but he's not someone that likes to draw attention to himself and his accomplishments. He moves on with his life, and I think, and looking at him, I think I see some of me in him. I don't. That's not a vain comment. It's just that I'm not a person that looks over my shoulder, and he isn't either. What's done is done. What's accomplished is accomplished, and let's move forward. And I believe that's the way he was. Matter of fact, I know that's the way he was.
Well, I know. Don't know if you saw the proceedings of the funeral today, but it was very poignant. And certainly the Bush family came off with elegance and respect. And you got a new respect for the office almost, watching this family and how they performed. And the respect they showed for each other and the love. And I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. As I said, this is a day we were all Americans. And so George Bush in death was bigger almost than he was in life. His legacy is exactly what we needed to hear today about a country that's torn, needs to come together. And yes, the cliche works, I'm sorry, but we need to be a kinder, gentler nation than what we are right now. So thanks to Terry Bradshaw for sharing that with us. He's a guy that knew the man and spoke very, very informally but interesting about George H.W. Bush. Coming up as we're dialing his number now is Edgar Thompson of the Orlando Sentinel, and we will have a little bit later on, a little more, of Terry Bradshaw as well. I believe we got Edgar Thompson online now, and that black spot right there. And we're going to see if we can get the beat writer for the Orlando Sentinel. So much more than that, by the way. But Edgar, our friend and our regular contributor to the program, is on with us now. And Edgar, good evening to you.
Hey, buddy.
Nice to see you again.
You too. Did we speak? We spoke last week. We were talking about the 9th best team thing.
Yes, we did.
I was trying to. We missed the Idaho week. The post Idaho. Yeah. So how you doing, man?
We're doing good. Cold here. I know it's getting cold there. I understand in Gainesville it's going to be 30 tonight.
I'm ready, man. I got my skiing freaking outfit on.
You do, dude.
I'm cold.
Gainesville can be a very cold city. There's no doubt about that. And
yeah, and these houses, man, these are all. I live in a 1957 8 house. It's like got jalousie windows, made of block with no insulation, so it gets cold.
A little drafty, a little drafty for sure.
It's a nice spot though, man. I'm a mile from the golf course, 3/4 of a mile from the gym, and 2 miles from the swamp. So
nice.
That's all I got to worry about.
Exactly. Edgar, let's see what else has transpired. We obviously had talked about the
got a ton.
Yeah, we talked a lot about last week about the ranking and about the bowl and et cetera, and I guess now it's going to be about recruiting and bowl prep. Understand today, according to a tweet I read, I believe Will Salmon wrote it. You probably did too. That practices will be open for the bowl, the first 3, which is kind of new and interesting, and I think and a good thing for fans.
No, it's definitely good for fans. I'm not sure how it's going to work. My perspective, so check this out. This is like timing, man. And there's always so much going on this time of year. It's unfortunate, but like this week they have Michigan State in basketball in Saturday at noon, which is exciting. But next weekend is one of my favorite events of the year that I cover.
What's that?
It's the father-son golf tournament in Orlando. And like, you know, Jack Nicklaus is playing with his grandkid. Trevino plays. Norman's playing this year. Kuchar is with his dad this year. Furyk's playing with his dad. First-time guys. It's going to be it's a great field. It's a fun event to cover. And now they're opening these practices, and I'm sitting here going, yeah, I don't know that I can go down. It's going to depend on access, because if all we can do is go watch Saturday and Sunday, I'm going Friday for sure. I think Dan's speaking Friday, but so there's a lot of overlap is what I'm saying. And then here's the other piece of overlap, and probably everyone's rolling their eyes and could care less about my schedule, but I have had Christmas with my sister every single year of my life but one. When I had to cover the Dolphins at New England in 2007 on December 23rd. Otherwise, she's 56 and I'm 52. I mean, we're very close. And it's like, I will not be going. I'm going to Atlanta on December 23rd because it's bowl game. So I will be sitting in a room, a hotel room in the Hyatt Regency in Atlanta on Christmas Day, man.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's what and look, it's fine. It's going to be a fun week. And I just want to, that's the breaks. But yeah, that's the stuff that we do, man. You make choices and you got to miss things and do things and drive all over the place. And it's a fun career. I mean, I wouldn't change it for anything, and you wouldn't either. But it's people don't realize that aspect of it, I don't think.
Yeah, first thing you do, you learn to give up your weekends when you're a sports writer and lots of your nights. That's number one when you're early game. And I didn't know what it was like to have weekends off until years later. When I got out of sports, my family never knew what weekends. And I know people aren't interested in hearing about our lives.
But it gives them some insight.
And holidays, almost all holidays, you had to work.
I work 35 weekends a year, I bet you.
Yeah. And
maybe every day of it, but at least one day. Like this weekend, I work on Saturday. It's fine. Yeah. Look, I play golf. I played 27 holes at Ironwood yesterday on a Tuesday with Gold Camp. So you get those days too.
And it has this rewards, but it's one of the prices you pay, just like others. Anyway, that's what we do. And
let's talk about that bowl game. What do you think?
Well, I'm very glad it's the Peach Bowl and not the Fiesta Bowl. I'm not thrilled about Michigan. I think there's a bit of a hangover about that. Obviously, after losing 4 times, and it's just not an attractive team. But it's a good game. It's a good payoff, and it was a great finish to a season for Florida. So overall, you got to be upbeat about it.
No, I think it's a great result, great outcome. I definitely think the opponent leaves something to be desired in the minds of Gator fans, judging from what I see. I mean, on social media and just talking to people at the gym and whatnot. I don't think anybody's geeked up about playing Michigan. Harbaugh is really no fun. I mean, the other day, the press conference we did a teleconference with him. I mean, it's like he goes out of his way to not say anything. I mean, he's the anti-Dan Mullen, who will never not give you a pretty in-depth answer on any topic. And he'll never dress you down on a question either, which Harbaugh, I'm sure, is at the ready to do. Now, like the other day, I said, so, hey, from afar, what do you feel about, how do you view Florida's turnaround season? Very impressive. That's all he said. Yeah. He didn't have nothing more to say than that. I mean, it's like it's ridiculous. So,
it's a Belichick syndrome.
He's not going to be. Well, he wasn't even under Belichick, but you're right. I mean, it's Parcells really is where it all began. I think we talked about that one night on here. But the point, they think they don't need the media. It's like, guys, do you realize part of the reason you make so much freaking money and there's so much exposure is because of the media? I mean, it's like you can't just go play in empty stadiums. I mean, fans, and media are a big part of the deal. But yes, so Harbaugh is not going to be any fun to cover. Mullen will be fun. I think the Gators have a lot more to play for than Michigan. I think Michigan might come in potentially just not that up for the game, and that benefits the Gators, and the Gators could pick up win number 10.
That's the storyline we all have to care about, which I think is a marvelous narrative for this season, this team, and this coach, given where we are. We got to go back again and reframe where we started and look at where we are again. And I think that's the thing here. And, yeah, maybe it's not the most attractive game or the most attractive opponent, but it's a New Year's Six game. And I think the word pride factors in here a little bit with fans and people. I think that, and I do see that the tickets are moving pretty good. The fan base here at Gator Nation Kingdom, they're happy. I don't think they're overjoyed about it. I think they probably represent the fan base around. So again, it's a marked improvement. It's something to build on. It's an accomplishment, but not a lot of titillation. You know what I mean?
I definitely know. I don't know that Michigan is. They really don't have like a play or two you're dying to see, or like. I mean, UCF, okay, let's talk about that.
Actually, I'd rather watch UCF play.
Exactly. I mean, Florida and UCF, I get that it's a no-win situation for the Gators. Right. You beat them, you're supposed to. You lose, oh, my God, the sky's falling. Yeah. But to me, it's good competition, and it would really – the state of Florida would be into it. I think college football, the world would be watching. I don't think anybody's going to be that excited. I mean, look – this game's also being played, let's remember, the day of the playoffs. So you really better have some incredible endurance if you're going to watch this game and 2 playoff games. I mean, you got to have about 12 hours of ass time, forgive my language, you're going to put in. I mean, right? You pop your first beer at noon, I mean, right, and start eating chips. I mean, you're going to be done by halftime of the next game. So a lot of people, I just don't know. You had to create a really attractive matchup, and I think UCF would have been the one. I get the fact that they had group of fives 2 out of the last 3 years, because 1 year was a playoff, but the last 2 times it was a bowl and not a playoff game. It was Houston and UCF, so Peach Bowl did not want another group of 5. But in this case, it's a group of 5 that everybody is interested in, even though it doesn't have its quarterback, but it still scored 56 or whatever the heck it was the other day. And Scott Strickland, you saw that he called Bianchi or not?
I did not see that. What happened? I didn't hear about that.
So Scott Strickland's on the selection committee, and there was a lot of blowback towards Scott. Probably unfounded. I mean, I shouldn't say probably. It was unfounded. I mean, Scott is a total professional. He's been great to work with. We like Scott. And, I mean, the guy take him at his word on anything. And he cannot be involved in that process when Florida's bowl game situation or ranking are being discussed.
Has to be recused.
Yeah, so he's recused. And meanwhile, though, everyone's like, oh, yeah, well, we know why Florida isn't playing UCF because their AD is on the committee, blah, blah, blah. So, and Bianchi wrote a lot about this because UCF's in Orlando, obviously. And Danny White, who's Mike White's, brother, right. I'm sure everybody realizes that. But anyway, the AD there, he was very vocal. And in reality, it was ridiculous. They didn't at least move UCF to number 7 in the rankings ahead of Michigan. Come on. They won 25 straight games, 13 or 12 this year or whatever, 13-0. Move them up. Come on. One spot, they can be in front of Michigan at least. Not in front of Ohio State, but Michigan. So Danny White just was weighing in on it constantly. Bianchi was writing a lot of stories about it. And Strickland called Mike on Monday and said, look, man, I had nothing to do with that decision. We would love to have played UCF. Now, here's my next question for Scott. Okay, then schedule.
Schedule, yeah.
Let's get them on the schedule. I'd love to see that. They're playing USF in a 2-1, right? A 3-game thing, 2 here, 1 there. Yeah. They're going to play Miami next year. Get UCF on the schedule. You play FSU every year. I like that. Let's do it. But anyhow, on the point of the bowl game, I think they lost a golden opportunity to put Florida and UCF in the Peach Bowl. And the Peach Bowl should have said, hey, we'll take those guys. They're a group of 5, yes, but they're going to move the needle. And so we got Michigan. And look, we'll cover the game. Hopefully it's a good game. Florida has a very good chance to win, I think, just because of Michigan's mindset as much as anything. But that Michigan defense is sturdy. And other than that Ohio State game was impenetrable for the most part. And Felipe Franks is going to have to really play well, and the offensive line is going to really have to play well.
Well, first of all, I switched on this. I originally said I didn't want to see him play UCF for the obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm. We talked about that.
Right. But now, given the options and looking at Michigan, there's no question it'll be a much more interesting game to watch. And we got a broader audience in Florida. That's probably one of the reasons the committee didn't want to tap 2 Florida teams in there. But on the matter of playing UCF, I've seen this movie. It's called Florida State, circa 1960. When Florida State at 50, I believe they played, or 50, whatever. I was
50.
at the game.
They started in 58.
I was there for the first game in the stands. And
were you?
Oh yeah, I saw the opening kickoff. I was a student. Yeah, I saw. But I've and then ultimately they had to play each other, and it's the same story. It's a different school, but I'm okay with that. And I think I understand the recruiting. They're so close together. How the recruiting might be impactful, but I'm a kind of a rising tide raises all ships guy. And I'm glad you told me that story about Scott Strickland. Scott Strickland's a really good man and a good AD and a fair and honest guy. I wouldn't see any way whatsoever he should get any blame for the fact that UCF didn't get what it wanted. So I'm glad to hear the story.
There's no doubt. But, and you mentioned recruiting just now. Maybe this could impact a recruit or two if UCF were to beat Florida. Okay, but like I said, man, it's about competition. That's what sports is, man. You compete, yesterday I'm playing golf with Goldcamp. I play a lot more golf than Thomas, and I was hitting the ball great. And I'm giving him I give him strokes. I'm trying to do anything I can to make it into a match, and we're having a blast because he's hanging in there. It's give people a chance. Give UCF a chance. That's one reason I love golf, because of the handicap system. I could go play with whomever. A scratch golfer, and I'm getting my strokes. And then it's can you compete? Look, UCF would be an underdog, especially without Mackenzie Milton. It would be a big ask for them, but you don't think they would want that shot? They're pumped to play LSU, but that game's interesting, and I'll watch that game for sure because it's UCF. But that Florida UCF game, I'd be pumped on that one. I'd be riveted. Michigan, it'll be fine. And it'll be interesting because Dan Mullen, for the reason of what we said, 10 wins. Dan Mullen, what he's done, the turnaround has would really be complete at that point in so many respects. Obviously, much work left to be done. But if they get, beaten and manhandled, I mean, he's got a hammer going into the offseason. I'm sure he'll be happy to have two. So it's kind of a win-win for him, really. Hey, we won 10 games, and how did you do it? I mean, it's remarkable considering where things stood after the Kentucky loss in everyone's mind, myself included. But lose, okay, you go into the offseason. Hey, guys, we got get a lot better and a lot stronger, and we got to get a lot better players. And he can use that for recruiting and for, off-season programs and things like that.
Speaking of LSU and bowl games, what do you think of the decisions of Greedy Williams and two others, at least maybe more, seniors who are ones coming out for the draft, to skip the bowl games?
I'm not a big fan of it, but the bowl games I get. I know I got in hot water with Chauncey Johnson's mom because of what I said about, potentially checking out and things like that, which he clearly didn't seem to do. And Ja'Kai Polite definitely didn't do either. I mean, that guy had really nice close to his season. But so the regular season, I think you were obligated completely to your scholarship, to your coaches, to your teammates to finish out the string. But now it's like, we saw it didn't impact Leonard Fournette's draft status. He went 4th. Christian McCaffrey didn't impact his. He went, 11th or 12th or 10th. These guys
I don't think anybody was impacted on the draft by it at all.
No, so these guys, it's like, hey, I need to start preparing for the draft, and I don't want to get hurt. What if a Mackenzie Milton situation happened to Greedy Williams? What if he was coming to set the edge on a play and got tangled up with a pulling guard and a back and one of his linebackers, Devin White came flying in there and suddenly you got a pile and your knee gets caught in the bottom of that and, you're done. So I get it, but it's also the game you play and you think that you'd want, again, competition. You think you'd want to compete. You never go out there thinking you're going to get hurt. I don't like that mentality. I get it, though, a month after the season, you're moving on to the next step of your career. I get it. Don't like it, but I get it.
I don't like it either, and I'll tell you why.
All the Gators are playing, by the way. Yeah. Dan Mullen said Monday all the Gators are playing.
And it makes you feel good. And here's the thing. Yeah, I know business decisions. Okay, let's just say, that we're all in agreement these kids have too much money at stake. Therefore, if the game is not a New Year's Six game or whatever the case may be, maybe they should sit out. Well, by the way, this was a New Year's Six game, the one that we're talking about with Greedy Williams. But the deal is that if you say, okay, give them a pass, what happens then to the teams that are fading in the stretch and suddenly lose 3 in a row? And here they are with 2 games to play at the end of the year, and the player says, I only got 2 games left. I'm not going to take a chance on getting hurt. I'm going to skip these last 2 games. Where do you draw the line? That's the problem I have with this.
Well, I did draw the line, kind of, buddy, where I said I think you really need to be obligated to your scholarship and to your teammates and coaches through the regular season. I get it that there's a lull of a month or final exams, which Greedy Williams, I'm sure, is not like cramming for his exams right now. I mean, does he even take them? He probably doesn't. He doesn't need to. But I think you got to get through the regular season. I think that's your obligation, and now it's a new world order. And it sucks. And everybody wants to see the stars. And these bowls are paying a ton of money, king's ransom to these schools and these TV contracts. I mean, but these kids, they'll say, hey, I'm not getting any of it.
True.
They're getting a scholarship that's valued
but they're
high.
Really not. And even Spurrier agrees to that they should get paid something. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, and they're getting a stipend that's nominal, $400 or whatever a month, and they're getting a full scholarship, which is valued at a lot of money. But look, a lot of people are leaving. What did I see the average was the other day? I can't even remember. I don't want to throw the wrong figure out there. It was sizable. It might have been $26,000 that these people are. The average student is leaving with that kind of student debt. These guys aren't leaving with any debt. And plus, they have all this medical attention and all this training and all this stuff, tutoring and these things that no other students get. So they have a pretty good deal.
Some of the guys are talking about saying they want to do a tailgate to your house.
Tailgate?
Yeah, let's go to Edgar's crib and have a tailgate. Yeah.
There's nothing going on at Edgar's.
They just figured they'd park in your parking lot and have a tailgate.
Well, they can come up here.
Yeah,
but I just mopped my floor, so I'm ready for guests.
It's not tonight. Just saying we should go to Edgar's crib. Two of our guys said, go and check him out and go do a tailgate up there. Anyway,
all right.
Speaking of the bowl game, speaking of the full day, and speaking of the coverage of the game, I know there are a couple of my colleagues who have options about going or not going to cover the game, are seriously thinking, do I really want to go to Atlanta and cover this game and sit there and get these canned quotes and then go back and write it and go to my hotel room and fall into bed and watch the playoff games when I can sit in my living room and watch it and get all I need to write or broadcast some? It gives you pause. I would say if they played UCF, these colleagues probably would say, I got to go see that, I want to be there.
These are people that are going to write articles on the games?
One broadcaster, one writer. But it's not. He's not the beat person, or he's not anybody. He writes for the internet, for a site. But
it's kind of opening up that whole can of worms I did 6-8 weeks ago. I mean, I'm not a big fan of people sitting at home writing stories.
No, I'm not. But that's not. These are not beat people.
No, I get it.
These are people who are marginal. These are not key. They do articles, so they do broadcasts, and they have a choice of. They're all bosses of making the decision. How do I want to do it? And I only say this because I think it's one of those. Maybe I'll go. Maybe I want things. That's the problem with the game.
Yeah. No. Look, I'm agreeing with you. I'm not like I said. I'm not a big fan of people that are writing stories off like this Michigan State basketball game that aren't going to go. But here's the thing. This game really falls at a bad time. I mean, they're beat writers on this. They're people on this beat with kids. Matt Baker has a young kid. Now, that kid probably won't remember Christmas. He's still that young. Jackie. You know Jackie Frankilli?
No, I don't know Jackie.
Yeah, she works for Rival. She's great. Nice woman. She has about a 15-month-old. She's talking about driving up and back on Christmas Eve just to get Mullen. That's absurd. I mean, it's 10 hours each way. I mean, back and forth. Bob Redman has 3 young kids. Robbie Andrew still has pretty young kids. So it's like, are you really asking people to go sit in how do you have Christmas? How does Dan Mullen have Christmas? I'm actually going to write a story on that, buddy. Mm-hmm. My on Christmas Eve at the presser that we're going to get with him, I'm going to try to get him off to the side and ask him, how do you do Christmas? And do you have a tree in the room? Yeah. How do you play Santa? I mean, he's got a 5-year-old, 6-year-old daughter. I mean, she believes in Santa. You sneaking around in a hotel suite, trying to plant gifts, leaving eating a bite of a cookie. I mean, I don't know. I mean, mothers are amazing. Mine was. I'm sure yours was. Most people's mothers are amazing around Christmas, but it really does kind of it kind of stinks that it's right in the middle of the holidays. So if people decide, I'm just going to watch it and not go, I get that. Yeah. I get it. But the one thing I will say in terms of like anyone who's a media member and trying to do any stories or anything.
Well, it definitely is not helping your work.
Well, but the locker room's open. And that's like, this is like the one time, like if you actually want to go talk to Emory Jones. Yeah. He's in the locker room after the game. Yeah. It's the only time you're going to speak to Emory Jones this year. So people will read that story. So if you're like, I probably won't get much time with him, but I'm definitely going to make sure to get a couple minutes because it's like you don't get time with these guys and they open the locker rooms.
No doubt about that. That's for sure. All right, couple of final notes here, Edgar, if I can, and I'll let you get warm here. What do you think of the Mel Tucker hire by Colorado?
Don't know enough about it. I mean, he certainly paid his dues, and I'm all for more minority hirings. I mean, look, I got ripped. I tweet some controversial stuff. I love how people think everything I tweet's negative. If people go look at my timeline, it's unbelievable. Most everything I'm saying is positive. Most every story I write is positive. But you tweet one thing, Because so I went to the University of New Mexico. Okay, I lived in Albuquerque 16 years, loved it. I'm a Lobo. I went there. Mike Locksley destroyed that football program. He came in on the heels of Rocky Long, who's not San Diego State, and doing a very good job. And he's about 67, 8, and he's still doing a good job. Great defensive mind, Rocky Long. He took that Lobo program to bowl games routinely, blah, 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 but then they didn't think they'd done enough. Well, we're going to go hire Mike Locksley. He's going to take us to the next level. He took them to the sewer. They were 2-26. He beat up an assistant coach reportedly during a meeting while drinking or something potentially. I mean, it was just an ugly, bad scene. There was all kinds of like awful stories. The guy, now he's going to a program at Maryland that needs to be completely retooled. I mean, that whole situation up there was tragic and awful on every level. And you're hiring Mike Locksley to come and set the tone for the future? Okay, fine. I tweeted that. I said, I guess they're overlooking his New Mexico background. And I got some guy on Twitter today calling me a racist for saying that. So it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I'm looking at the tweet right now.
Mike Locksley should not be a head coach again. His track record at New Mexico was a disaster. You're not going to find a worse track record of a head coach in the last 15 years anywhere. He was 2-26, besides all the off-the-field crap. That's all I got to say. But no, Mel Tucker, more power to him. Hopefully he does well. I always have an affinity for that program because I love the West. And I remember that 1990 season, and that was pretty special. But, hey, I don't know enough about it. What I wanted to say, though, one thing before we go, is the postseason awards. I think people got it wrong. I mean, C.J. Henderson didn't even make the first or second team on the All-SEC AP team. That's astounding. And Dan Mullen, I mean, both coaches and AP voted Mark Stoops Coach of the Year. But I tell you, with the way things ended, I think Dan Mullen was the Coach of the Year.
I'm hearing a lot of people say that, and I think you're probably right. His body of work's impressive. By the way, I've been to the pit in Albuquerque. I was there for the Valvano, yeah, we covered that event, yeah.
1983.
Yeah.
That was before I moved out there. I was still in high school. I moved out there in 87. But no, on Dan Mullen took a 4-7 team and turned it into a 9-3 team going to New Year's Six Bowl. Mark Stoops took consecutive 7-6 seasons, bumped it up, couple of wins to 9. Let's see if they win their bowl game against Penn State, which probably I'd be surprised if it does. Not a New Year's Six game either. I don't know. I think Dan Mullen, I mean, look, I don't know if they're the 9th best team in the country or 10th now. I don't know if they're going to give Michigan a game, but I think what he's done so far surpassed what Mark Stoops did.
Okay, I got 2 quick questions. You can answer them quick. Just
sure.
Give me a comment about, number one, about Urban, real quick, and then I got one more to ask you.
I mean, the Urban thing, I mean, there's been a lot of smoke. It was still kind of shocking when it actually happened. But look, the guy, he goes down to me top 10 of all time probably. I mean, his winning percentage is like off the charts. It's like 85%. It's unbelievable. He's one of, I think there are only about 7 guys have won more national titles, and there are like maybe 10 others who've won 3. I'm not convinced he's not going to come back and coach again at some point. But, I mean, look, it seems that he has some health issues. I don't think he's just making up the fact he had brain surgery. I mean, I know the guy can be a bit of a prima donna or whatever and all that. I actually always liked the guy when I dealt with him. I know you have a relationship that's good with him. Nothing negative to say about Urban. I think he mishandled some things with Ohio State, and hubris took over at some point. But look, it's probably for the best for the program, man. If he's not all in, you saw what could happen at Florida. Florida started going into a tailspin when he stayed a year he shouldn't have.
Yeah. He didn't make that mistake this time. All right, 30 seconds on Mac going to Central Michigan.
Oh, yeah, that's something. I don't know. I mean, did he deserve that? I mean, what did he do at Michigan to get that? I mean, it's like the old NBA where Doug Moe coached 12 teams or whatever. I mean, I know you like Doug Moe.
Doug Moe. It's my man.
I know, but how many teams did he coach? Bill Fitch. These guys, it's just recycling people. They couldn't find a more inspired hire than Jim McElwain. But his press conference that I listened to a bit of, I liked Jim McElwain, but I tell you, he sure likes to recycle the same lines.
I wonder if he has peanut butter. Anyway, all right, listen, my man, you take care. Did you tell me you won't be available, or you will next week? I've forgotten.
I don't think next week I am, because I have to be somewhere, and then I got to get the father-son, yada, yada, yada. But maybe the week after.
All right. Well, I want to make sure before the holidays to say good, have a great holiday. So
let's do one the week before Christmas.
Okay, sounds good, Edgar. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate
Thanks for listening, people.
All
See
right.
you.
Edgar Thompson, bring it up once again. Appreciate it, my man.
Take care.
All right, thank you. We're going to go catch up on a couple of items, which we didn't play any commercials tonight. I think we played one. Then Terry Bradshaw is coming up. We're going to have the rest of that interview, which I think you'll find interesting and somewhat sometimes funny. Terry has a lot of things to say. It's going to be part of a podcast, which I'm putting together, incidentally, which will have more of it. But anyway, want to get to that in just a minute. He talks about the Gators a little bit and how much he loves the Gators. But first, I'm going to tell you about Renstar Medical Research. Renstar, of course, is a world-class superior medical research facility right here in Ocala, where they do research on such diseases as Alzheimer's, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, fibromyalgia, and gather data and a cutting-edge clinical research trial, which is shipped off to biomedical companies and to pharmaceutical companies to find cures, for these diseases. So Renstar, they have these trials regulated by the FDA, and the safety is closely scrutinized, and the independent review board makes sure it's done right, and not that Renstar wouldn't do it right anyway. So if you want to know more about this and possibly take part in one of the clinical trials, or really actually be a part of the study, they have the availability to do that. I think they're doing some research right now on Alzheimer's. You ought to call them if you have an interest at 352-629-5800. Go online to Renstar Medical Research and find out about that. Meanwhile, Renstar also actively involved in the Scott Brantley Trophy. Had a meeting on that tonight. It's going to be an awesome thing. We've got major announcements to make on that coming up in the next couple of weeks. Tell you about that. Renstar in the community, doing things for the community. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Another stakeholder downtown Ocala, been around for 62 years, and this is a very interesting and classy outfit called Grinders for Men. I shop there. You should go there. Just bought a beautiful sports coat there. What I like about it is you can walk in the door and say, can somebody help me? I need to get my wardrobe fixed up. I need a blue blazer. My khaki pants need to be updated. I need a couple of long sleeve shirts or some sweaters for the weather change. They've got plenty of good stuff in the store. Always stays well stocked, and they got the people with the expertise there to guide you in the right direction. They don't try to push anything on you. They don't pressure you. Don't try to sell something you don't need. They just lay it out there and say, here it is. Here are your choices, and you go from there. This is an example of some of the things they have in the store. Excuse me, there's much, much more, including this is Elvis in the bottom right, who is a regular inhabitor of the store there. They have top name brands like Peter Millar, etc., and they do really good work in terms of their tailoring. When you buy a sport coat or a suit, it's tailored right there and done right. David DeSantis is the proprietor. He's got a good staff of people. If you're looking for something for your man in your life for Christmas or Hanukkah or the holidays, go in there and ask him, what do I need to do? I think my husband or my boyfriend, my grandfather, my dad needs more socks, shoes, whatever you want, belts, cologne, shirts, ties, whatever. They can tell you what they think your best choices are and guide you in your selection. Grinders, downtown Ocala, 405 East Silver Springs Boulevard, 352-629-3195. Grinders, Ocala tradition since 1962. All right, getting time for the bowl game, and we're going to be soon packing up our bags and heading to Atlanta. Many of us are. If you'd like to have some gear to go, a shirt or perhaps a flag for your car, here's where you. All Florida Sportswear is supporting GNK. We support them. Soon we'll have some information on items for the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl coming up, so stay tuned for that. Also, let me tell you a little bit about Center State Bank. It's my bank here in Ocala. Beautiful building in the top left-hand corner on Silver Springs Boulevard. They're very much about customers and customer service. And this particular bank has a beautiful second story, which you could use for your special events in the community. If you have an auction or something for your club or something for have a wedding or perhaps some kind of function for your business, if you see them and book them in advance, you have a chance to use this building. It's a community house, and it's all about the community for Center State Bank. They also are very well known for their long-term horizon of loans and things. They're world-class banking service, the relationships that they form there, and the faith and family part of that. And you need to check them out. You can go online to centerstatebank.com and find out where one of the closest banks are to you. 82 different locations in 30 Florida counties besides this particular one, 81 others besides this one. And they have plenty of locations around this area, North Central Florida, for you to find. Center State Bank, located here in Ocala at Silver Springs Boulevard. Call 352-368-6800. Center State Bank, centered on community and customer service. All right, earlier in the show we played we had a hold on one second here. We had an interview with Terry Bradshaw, which we thoroughly enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed part of it. Terry's a funny guy and a guy with a lot of passion, and he happens to have an interest in the Florida Gators. We played some of this earlier. Here's the remainder of some of this. I'll roll it forward and pick it up somewhere.
Yeah, buddy, I love my job, so.
With your dad, and I asked you to make me an honorary Bradshaw, and he said he would.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't. So I just kept claiming that name. So
I used to have so much fun with my father, like a lot of folks. And I'd take him to the lake, and we'd go fishing, get him away from Mom. And he'd be down there chewing tobacco, and I'd take 4 or 5 cigars, and I'd smoke 2, and he'd smoke 3, and he'd chew, and he'd spit, and he'd miss the fish, and he'd say a bad word, and we would laugh. And one day we went down there, and we were having a contest, and a buddy of mine from El Dorado, Arkansas, came, and we were going fishing. The fish were schooling in a big, deep hole. So we just stood on the bank, and I told everybody, look, we've got about a 20-yard area here, and they're out there in about 20 feet of water, 20 foot of depth, and just reel it flow. And what my dad didn't know is we were fishing with a bait for all our anglers out there called a rattle trap. And it's just a short bait that has BBs in it, and it's silver on the side, and it had a black strip on the top, and you tied the line on the top of it, and it rattles sideways, goes through the water, and that flash of that silver, and they would think it's a shad. And so I bent all the barbs on my dad's.
Oh, you dog, you.
I bent every one of them.
Gosh. Oh.
And so Mike and I were throwing out, whoa, I got a good one. Mike's got on, he pulls in, we got 2 or 3 pounders. We're turning them loose, we're back out there. Whoa, we got another one. My dad's over. God darn it. He couldn't catch a fish. They were just blowing that thing out of the water. And we finally couldn't stand it. Hey, buddy, we were laughing so hard. We just fell down.
Oh, poor Bill.
And we never told him. Finally, he took the bait and looked at it, and he did. Hey, he had his cigar in his mouth. He just took his hand. He took that cigar out, and he rolled his eyes over at me. And he didn't say a word. His eyes said it all.
I've been
we were howling.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! Was that funny?
You do like
so
to have
good.
a practical joke every now and then. A little fun. You never have any fun at all.
No.
All right. So
I got a.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, if you want to talk a little ball, we could do that.
Yeah.
I haven't watched a whole lot of the NFL.
I didn't know that the old ball coach is coaching in the NFL, or what do you call it?
It's the American. What is it called? AAF. He's coaching the Orlando Apollos, and he.
All right.
Yeah. He's got. I can't tell you who all his players are. I don't have his roster, but he's excited to get back in it again. Terry, he likes to get back in it. He's missing.
Yeah.
So he's cool.
Yeah, good for him. Well, and I don't think if he loses the game, he's going to lose any sleep. I think he's going to I think the old ball coach is going to do it and have a good time doing it and let it happen.
He'd like to be
good for him.
He'd like to be called.
And then, of course,
the head ball coach and not the old ball coach, because he's up there in age now, like us, and he does this. He'd like to be called the head ball.
Got it. The head ball coach.
Right. Yeah, he's going to have fun doing it. I think he's going to want to win, though, Terry.
Well,
he's
sure
going to want to win, just
win,
like you.
But I don't think he'll lay awake at night if he doesn't.
No, probably not.
Sleep over it.
Probably not.
So that'll be, and then of course Urban.
Yes,
I saw Urban Myers last year at Concessions. We're both members there, and he came over. I had never met him, and I was sitting in my car, and he came over and tapped on the window, and I said, "Oh my God, Urban Myers!" I said, we had a good visit. What a super nice guy. Golly,
not all Gator fans agree with that. They're still mad at him about
that's a bitter pill for them to swallow. Really, but the Gator fans need to understand one thing: Urban brought Florida back to greatness, right?
2 national championships, absolutely. And Steve Spurrier is a big fan of Urban's, but I get in trouble all the time talking about Urban and taking up for him, so I've decided to back away a little bit.
Well, he's a Gator guy, but he went to Ohio State, and why wouldn't you want to coach there?
Well,
Spurrier's a Gator. He went to Florida. Then he went to Florida, won a national championship, went up to South Carolina, came back, and they named the field after him. Come on, so you got to push those things aside. They're definitely not worth losing any sleep over and being bitter or angry about it. But Urban's a good man.
He is a good man, I think. And by the way, speaking of good men, your head coach, Dan Mullen, nice enough to send you that jersey and has invited you to come to spring practice, hopefully. And that fixture we've got of you, I don't have it in front of you now on the screen, in your Gator jersey or your Gator T-shirt and your hat on, and it went viral with you. Gator fans now consider you a Gator fan.
I am a Gator fan. How could I not be a Gator fan? I look forward to spring ball. I'll be down in Sarasota at our house down there as soon as the Super Bowl's over with, and thaw out and play some golf, and then go over to the Gator Nation and go to some spring ball. Looking forward to that. That's going to be maybe even work with the quarterbacks if Coach will let me work with them a little bit.
Yeah. Felipe Franks will use it.
Do some RPOs. It'll be good.
Listen, you'd be a good RPO guy. You like to run.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, listen.
Run for my life, what I did.
You did. There's a rumor out here. You don't have to confirm it now or whatever, that you might show up for a special event in April, which we'll talk about later when it's able to firm up. But we'll discuss that later. But so you'll be near, closer, we'll get a chance to see you. Let's talk about some NFL games. I haven't watched them much, but I tell you, it looks to me like it's the Rams and Saints and everybody else. Those two teams. What's your take on how the race is going?
Well, when the Saints got hammered by the Cowboys, and I mean they got hammered.
They did.
my takeaway from that was this: great defense beat great offense that day. So some say, well, they didn't play their best. They didn't play their best because Dallas stepped it up. I mean, now that Dallas knows that they can step it up and play at that level, that's the level you play at every week. I used to say this to Howie. Wouldn't you tell your team if you were a head coach, gentlemen, can you give me 16 days out of 365 of the best days of your life? Can you give me the best effort? Because that's exactly how many days we're going to play for real. 16 football games. And if we can do that, we can win. Dallas gave their fans a peek of just how great their defense is one time. Now, with 4 games remaining, that's the level of performance you got to have now. They said Sean Lee's coming back, and I disagree starting Sean Lee because Vander Esch, the young linebacker out of Boise State, their first-round pick, is playing outstanding. Why you want to take him out? Because Sean Lee's always hurt. I would leave Sean Lee on the sideline, let him be a backup, and then that'll preserve him. And I would leave Vander Esch in there. But Jerry Jones, the owner, I guess he coaches too.
I guess.
Figured that guy out, yeah. But he said that he'll start, so that's good. It's like calling New England, talking to Bob Kraft. Who's going to start at middle linebacker this week? And then, you think Bob Kraft's going to say this or say that? No. Jason Garrett's the head coach, but he never says the word. We never hear from him. But anyway, It's Dallas is playing well, and their defense is awesome. Rams and Saints, everybody knows about. Mm-hmm. The Bears have got a really good defense, really good. Suspect offense, okay offense, not a great offense. And Carolina's going the other way. Tampa's gone, never got started, never got out of the gate. That's about it. But Seattle's making a move. Nobody in the FC North. In the NFC East, it's just Dallas. The rest of that bunch, just even the world champions, are just out of sync. They don't look good at all. They never got it going. So you're right. It's Seattle, Dallas, San Francisco, Saints. You need 6 teams, so
a whole bunch of 7-5s and 6.
Yeah.
And I watched the games on Sunday. It seemed like everybody was winning or losing by a field goal the last second. And Crosby missed again for Green Bay, and it cost him his coach and my friend Ron Zook, the special teams coach, his job. How many times
Ron Zook get fired after that?
Well, he will because McCarthy. McCarthy got fired. McCarthy got fired. So
you're right. It's and then Winston Moss got fired this morning.
Did he really?
Linebackers coach, because he put on a tweet. The next person that comes in, the leadership, who's going to be strong enough. Leadership starts at the top, and who's going to control number 12, or you'll read about it.
Okay.
And so they fired him. They fired him to that, and then he fired back Twitter-wise. Thanks, Twitter. You got to be careful when you hit the word send or hit that button send or however you do Twitter. Yeah. I don't do Twitter.
No, you don't. But you have a Facebook page. I'm looking at your Facebook page right now.
I don't do that. That's done by somebody else. I want everybody.
But it is out there, and that's where I got some if people want to go see your pictures and some of your trailers on some of your movies, and there's a few. Remember we used to do questions all the time in the old days on the show. We had people write in. Yeah, people they're writing in here and saying things and whatever. Terry, do you how many requests do you get now to the forum for like autographs and pictures and things like that? I know for a while you used to get quite a few. You still doing that kind of stuff?
I get autograph wise in the mail to the farm here where I live. Maybe 4, 5 pieces a week. That's all.
Yeah.
And then we'll sit down, and Tammy runs. My wife runs the office now.
Yeah.
And it's more efficient. Plus, we know what's going on.
Right.
Which is really good. It's fine. It's really good it's really good to be married to someone that's so smart.
And
it came out of radiology at Baylor hospitals and was running the radiation department, the X-ray, whatever you call that, radiology department, and knows how to manage things and organize. And so I asked her if she'd like to take it over. I thought it would be good for the farm and it'd be good for us, because now we look at our bills and go, you know,
what's that for?
Wow. Yeah. Well, she said the other day, yesterday, she said, you know, that we spent $200 on a light bill for something. And so I just looked at her and like, yeah. And yeah, I guess, you know, I don't.
Yeah. Right.
And she said, is that really necessary?
Yeah.
Is anybody even using that bill?
Right.
And then I went, no. So she canceled the service there. She shut it down.
Probably a feed barn. Somewhere.
I don't know what it is. I am where I work out is a big old barn.
Yeah.
And I am putting heat in it because, man, live, it's 26 degrees here this morning.
Well, you can be in Florida soon, back in the sunshine of Sarasota.
I will. I'll be there. Let's see. I get down there after the Super Bowl. Maybe the week before I'll be there. 1st of February, I think, or the last of January. I'll go there. Then we won't see our grandchildren till after the Super Bowl, and we won't see them Christmas. So we'll head out over there.
Well, the great Terry Bradshaw.
FaceTime is kind of cool. What?
Yeah,
light bill for something.
Tell you a little bit about. Let's see if I can get this on the screen now. Oh, where did you?
Yeah, buddy, I love my job.
Meanwhile, oh yes, let me tell you about Mark's Prime. I want to tell you about that because if you haven't been, you've been missing. You missed out on a place that is one of the special restaurants in our community. If you want quality food and elegance in your dining experience, and you want to be treated like royalty, this is the place you need to go. If you have a special person in your life, a family occasion, birthday, whatever, Mark's Prime is a terrific place to be. Gainesville and Ocala, 2 locations to serve you. I would encourage you, if you plan to go, don't wait to the last minute because it's holidays and they get very busy there. Mark's, call them in Ocala at 352-402-0097, and then in Gainesville at 336-0077. Mark's Prime is got the finest seafood, finest beef, premium wines, and naturally fresh vegetables. I don't have the picture I know tonight of the food on the screen. Some of you are saying, where's that food? I always love watching it late night. Makes me nice and hungry. But we're going to put some new dishes up here. Mark's Prime to show you the next couple of days and let you see what some of the other dishes look like. But anyway, Mark's Prime is a place that one of my favorite places to go, period, because I just like being there, number one. I will go ahead and put this picture up here of the steak because it's such a great piece of steak. Oh, my goodness. I get hungry looking at it myself. That's the kind of beef you get there at Mark's Prime. Again, be sure and call ahead and ask about the gift cards. It's a heck of a good deal. You can get a good deal. You can get they discounted quite a bit. And if you want to talk about a super present for Christmas, well, Mark's Prime gift cards are really great ones. So check it out. Mark's Prime, Ocala and Gainesville, 2 locations to serve you in Ocala. And remember, it's about the food and the service, but mostly it's about creating a unique dining experience that you won't forget. Mark's Prime. Okay, we'll say enjoyed the evening. We'll have more Bradshaw later in the week. We'll talk more about some of the games. He has a good story to talk about with Phillip Rivers. He interviewed last week, which I thought was a really good piece. And we'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit. And I'll just say good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow night, same time, same station.